Hello and welcome to H2OMICS, the Calsense podcast that gives you insight into the smart irrigation and sustainability world. I'm Carolina Alban-Stoughton. The City of Murrieta is located in southwestern Riverside County in California. Since its incorporation 32 years ago, Murrieta has experienced significant growth, going from a population of 20,000 in 1991 to about 113,000 this year. At one point, Murrieta was considered one of the fastest growing cities in the state, and its expansion continues to this day. As expected, demand for water has increased. To talk about how Murrieta is balancing population growth and water usage, our guest today is Murrieta Assistant City Manager, Ivan Holler. Ivan has been in this position since 2015, and he was previously Development Services Director for the city. As a landscape architect, he understands the importance of making sure land and resources are used efficiently to benefit communities. Welcome to H2OMICS, Ivan, and thank you so much for taking the time to be on our podcast.
Thanks for inviting me, Carolina. I'm happy to be here.
Murrieta continues to be one of the fastest growing cities in the southwestern Riverside County region and Southern California, for that matter. How does the city balance both population growth and, by extension, the need for increasingly more water?
So that is a fairly complex question and unfortunately requires a somewhat complex answer, but here we go. First of all, the city is not a water purveyor. Rather, our water is supplied by water districts. In our case, we have 4 water districts. And water suppliers are required to prepare a document called an Urban Water Management Plan every 5 years as a longer-term resource planning tool to ensure water supplies are adequate to meet future growth needs. So when a water district, creates its Urban Water Management Plan, it also looks at a jurisdiction, in our case, the City of Murrieta. It looks at our general plan, which is another long-range planning document that the city uses to guide growth and development over actually a longer horizon. About a 20-year or so horizon is typical for general plans. And when a jurisdiction like us, like the city, when we update our general plan, water suppliers typically provide comments as to whether or not they'll have enough future water to sustain the population growth that's proposed in the general plan when they review it. So that's kind of the process, the back and forth process between the jurisdictions and districts or water suppliers. But it doesn't stop there. The state of California also requires regions in the state to go through a process that's called a regional housing needs allocation. And that is designed to make sure that an adequate housing supply is planned for the future. I should note that the regional housing needs allocation process, or RHNA as it's known, can be fairly controversial in the state. So you have to balance through that process, providing an adequate housing supply into the future with what the water supply agencies say that they can supply, and kind of put all of those together in your general plan. So in theory, the communication and planning efforts that I've just described between a jurisdiction like the City of Murrieta, water supply agencies, and the state, in this case, HCD, Housing and Community Development, work hand in hand to ensure an adequate housing and water supply into the future for the residents of the city.
That is very interesting. And I'm sure, so water is essentially top of mind all the time in Murrieta.
It is. Obviously, we've been through several years of drought here in Southern California, and Murrieta has not been immune to the impacts of drought. So we've all had to look at ways to further conserve water. We're fortunate that this last winter was wet and replenish some of the state supplies. But that cycle will repeat again here in Southern California. So it's something that we always have to keep in mind.
So what are your main water sources? And if you could tell us which water districts do you work with and how do they ensure that Murrieta has reliable supply of drinking water?
Sure. As I mentioned briefly, we have 4 water districts. Now that's unusual. Most cities only have to work with one water supplier, one district, or they may be a water supplier themselves. However, we're a little bit unusual in that we work with 4 water districts, and those districts are Eastern Municipal Water District, Western Municipal Water District, Rancho California Water District, and Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District. To varying degrees, those water suppliers, those districts, get their water from either the state water project, so it comes down through the Bay Delta, or from the Colorado River, or to a lesser extent, local groundwater aquifers. So some combination of those 3 things is where the districts get their supply. But what all of the districts are doing now is working on ways to take treated water, treated wastewater, and inject that into groundwater aquifers, and then that is available for use at some point in the future as potable water. So the districts are also expanding and diversifying their water portfolio through reutilization of recycled water.
Recycled water is such a hot topic right now. We covered also the city of Oceanside. They have pure water also plant that it's helping also provide drinking water to the community, to the city. So it is definitely one of the sources that cities are relying on nowadays. So how is the city addressing water sustainability in its new housing developments and landscape guidelines?
So that's a good question. There are other laws or statutes that the state has. For example, Assembly Bill 1881, which was passed in 2006, updated an earlier bill that was AB 325, as I recall, and that those 2 bills require local agencies or jurisdictions to develop water-efficient landscape ordinances. So the City of Murrieta has done that, and those ordinances deal with a number of different techniques for landscape irrigation. One component of that, or one of the requirements, is drip irrigation. It is typically required to some extent in water-efficient landscape ordinances. The ordinance also addresses irrigation controller requirements to take advantage of improvements in technology, like Calsense has done. It typically prohibits spray irrigation within so many feet of impervious surfaces, or spray irrigation in areas that are less than 8 feet wide. Those are just some of the more specific requirements in the ordinances. So the city has kept its ordinance updated, and that updated landscape standards can be found in our development code. For those that might be interested, it's Chapter 16, Section 28. So we also report annually on our compliance efforts with the model water efficient landscape ordinance. All of those things together are how we, or some of what we're doing to address sustainability issues with new development. There's other building code items that address water that's not landscape use, but all of those things work together again.
That is fantastic. So as we've mentioned already, Murrieta is growing and it is growing fast. So there is definitely more need for parks and community facilities. So how do you address water usage among your parks and community facilities?
So that's a good question. We have in the city of Murrieta, we're a population of about 115,000 approximately, and we have 53 parks in our city, which is a ton of parks for a jurisdiction of our size. But we also have a relatively small staff to oversee those parks. So one of the things that we do is we utilize, I would say, over half of our controllers, irrigation controllers here in the city, are Calsense controllers. I'm not sure if you knew that, but we utilize those and take advantage of a number of the built-in sensor options and programming flexibility to help us not only reduce water use, but manage our water use. Some of those things that we take advantage of are also the remote monitoring and programming capabilities, so that we can make adjustments easily to a number of the controllers at the same time when we have to do that. Other things I've alluded to earlier, for example, we utilize drip irrigation where that's possible in order to apply landscape water more efficiently. Now, sometimes that doesn't work, right? If you have athletic fields, you're certainly not going to utilize drip irrigation. But we also monitor how we're applying water to our athletic fields and don't apply that in periods where it wouldn't be very efficient. For example, in the heat of the day, where we can avoid that, or in real windy periods. We also utilize low water use plant materials that are best suited for the region. So all of those things, again, work together, and it's just some of the things that we've been doing in our parks and facilities.
Well, we are definitely very proud to serve the city of Murrieta and many other cities in California and just here in Southern California, such as Vista and Oceanside. So what are some new community amenities being planned for the city?
Well, this is a fun question. We have a few things that we've been working on that are exciting. One of the things is we're working on a location to build a new soccer facilities and a soccer complex. That process has been underway for a bit, and it won't be completed in the next few months, but we're working hard on that. So that's an exciting new set of amenities that we'll offer to the residents of our city. We're also just starting work on a new community pool complex. So that's exciting, but kind of in keeping with the water theme of our conversation, I would say one of the most exciting projects will be the reopening of the Murrieta Hot Springs Resort. I'm sure some people will be familiar with the resort or may remember it from years and years ago, but it's an area that has natural hot springs that are available, and those hot springs are utilized to feed several pools and soaking tubs in the resort. So when that resort opens, which is scheduled to be at the end of the year, not only will it have lodging for guests to come and stay overnight or for a few days, but it'll have restaurants, and then, of course, the famous pools and hot spring fed soaking tubs. So we're really looking forward to that. That'll be, again, the first part of end of the year, first part of next year, and we hope that a lot of folks come and check that out.
Well, this all sounds very exciting, but I just have to tell you, I'm particularly excited about the soccer fields. I'm officially a soccer mom, and I've actually traveled with my son to Temecula. So we would really look forward to check out those soccer fields once they're done.
Well, we're excited about that too. It's been a bit of a challenge, but we're still moving forward with that project. If successful, we'll bring an additional 7 new fields in one location. along with some training facilities that would go along with that. So that also is something that I think will be heavily used by not only folks here in the city, but folks in Southwest Riverside County.
So the city has a healthy community element of its general plan that addresses the importance of community health and well-being for your residents. How do vibrant parks and community facilities play a role in implementing this plan?
In order to have a vibrant city, and a city where people want to come and live, it's a combination of being able to have areas that you have to have jobs, so you have to have areas to work, but you also have to have areas to live and to play. And obviously, our parks and trail system that we have here in the city provide recreational opportunities for our residents and for others. So they play a vital role in the creating what we think is a real vibrant city here in Murrieta. We have a number of youth sports organizations in the community, and we hold a number of events in our parks, in addition to where the sports organizations use our parks to play. We have events like our annual birthday bash and our Father's Day car show, and we also hold movies in the parks. So there's the parks provide an opportunity for our residents to come out and unwind and engage in either passive or active recreation, and they're really an essential part of the fabric of the community. So that's why they're described in the one of the general plan elements.
Wonderful. I am so glad I got to talk to you today and get caught up on all these exciting things going on in Murrieta. Ivan, it's been a pleasure to have you on our podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I appreciate you inviting me to come on, and I would look forward to talking with you soon.
That was Assistant City Manager for the City of Murrieta, Ivan Holler. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you'd like to listen to other episodes, visit calsense.com/podcast or search for H2OMICS on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, I'm Carolina Alban Stoughton.